This is episode 14 with Tara Stiles.
So let's go, 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 go. I'll follow, wherever you go, 'cause you're...
Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of the Inventions Show, a podcast about all things invention and reinvention, where entrepreneurs, influencers, and experts in their field today share their story of triumphs and challenges in both life and business. My name is Tak Lee, entrepreneur, investor, inventor, and the host of the show. Now today, I've got a totally amazing guest and thrilled to have her on the show. Tara Stiles, a global yoga, movement, and wellness expert, a best-selling author, speaker, and founder of Strla Yoga. Named the Yoga Rebel by the New York Times, she's also been called the coolest yoga instructor ever by Vanity Fair. With thousands of guides, Strala is practiced in more than 100 countries, and she brings a revolutionary approach to being, moving, and healing to inspire millions around the world. So without further ado, welcome to the show, Tara, and thanks so much for being with us.
Of course. Thank you so much for having me. Really excited to chat with you.
No, it's my honor. Now, the first thing I like to ask all my guests, for those who are not too familiar with yourself, is can you please give us a window into your background? And what was your first job?
Oh, gosh. Well, I grew up doing dance. So I did that from age 4 through, my whole teenage years. And my first official job was I think it was 8 years old. I was a demonstrator at the dance studio. And I remember my parents being really upset with me that I took the job because they had to file taxes for me then. And it was a big pain in the butt. It was more of a pain for them than the money I was earning. So I did that for a while.
Awesome. So what sparked your interest? You just mentioned that you've got a background in ballet and choreography. What sparked your interest and transition to the health, yoga, and wellness space?
Gosh, well, when I was little, I never knew it was something that you could do with your life beyond something that was interesting for you. I don't think that I was aware of any role models in that space. It was more like alternative medicine and kind of fringe things like that. So it wasn't something that was on my mind really for work. But I was always interested in recycling and the planet and connection and being good to people and sort of all the things that yoga talks about. My family kind of raised me in that way. And I was always kind of interested in that way of being in the world. So in my dance class was the first time I took a yoga class. My ballet teacher brought in a yoga instructor. And that was the first moment where I saw somebody simply happy for no reason at all. This was incredible to me.
That's cool.
And I thought, well, this is some sort of a job that you're doing. That's really interesting. And I was really curious. Not really at that point to transition as a career, but I just thought it was fascinating that somebody could teach these practices that I just felt were part of humanity, but not really in a structured way that at least I had discovered yet.
Interesting. Now, I find, Strala Yoga totally captivating, when you've basically been able to combine the movement and healing wisdom of Tai Chi with the form vocabularies of, yoga, Tai Chi, Qigong, and traditional Chinese and Japanese medicine. How did all that come about, and how did the Strala style come about?
Gosh, well, the more I started learning about yoga and getting interested, I had a lot of friends that either they wouldn't try yoga at all, they thought it was too intimidating, or a lot of yoga teacher friends that were really almost rigid in their yoga, respecting the dogma of yoga. And I knew from dance and movement that the movement doesn't work unless you feel good in your own body and you're relaxed and you're at ease. So I thought, okay, there's something missing from the yoga working and being kind of stressed and rigid. So I started teaching yoga in this kind of easygoing, relaxed way. And the more I was doing that, the more I was starting to kind of meet people that were doing Tai Chi or Shiatsu, and them coming to me and saying, this is the same thing about Shiatsu and you need to be relaxed, and how you touch people in your classes is more of a Shiatsu approach already instead of a manipulative yoga approach to get somebody into the move better. And how I was leading yoga with movement being the focus instead of kind of twisting your body into the most extreme version of the pose, which I don't know if that's what yoga really says, but that's what we kind of get our egos kind of, soaked up in. So a lot of Tai Chi people were coming and saying, well, that's a lot like Tai Chi and you're focused on moving through the flow the whole time. So that's how I started getting more and more interested in studying these other practices and seeing how they all really can be holistic together.
No, I totally love it. I've tried a few out from my YouTube. 2 thumbs up.
Cool. Awesome.
Now, I just want to, bring up your upcoming new book, Tara, Clean Mind, Clean Body, which I believe is on pre-order now with a release date of 29th of December, 2020. Can you please give our listeners, an idea of what Clean Mind, Clean Body is about?
Sure. Well, the whole kind of premise is really about slowing down and feeling more like yourself in all of these practices. I think now everybody knows about yoga more, but it's still about, this stressful thing. Oh, I have to make time for yoga, or, I need to make time for, practicing something at home, or I need to make time for cooking. And it becomes more getting lost in the form instead of feeling good in your body. And then there's all these kind of hacks about things. And I think that can be useful, but also a challenge to have sustainability. So it's really much more of a presentation of all of the ancient wisdoms, but really in a way that you're the main ingredient. So you can learn about yoga and meditation and Ayurveda and shiatsu, but in a way that is really set up for you to work in your home life and your family life.
Yeah, awesome. Now, just quickly, for those, for our viewers out there, that's the book, so make sure you grab it.
You're so nice, thanks.
You're welcome. Now, you're a best-selling author, and you've authored several books, I think more than a dozen from memory. And, on one of your Instagram posts recently, you mentioned that you've never felt so confident, relaxed, and at ease for a book launch as this one. I mean, for all our budding, for all the budding authors out there who are listening, I mean, what's the reason behind it? I mean, I'm launching a book myself in the next month, and I'm like, got to itchy bum or something. So any tips or advice there?
Oh gosh, I mean, I don't know if this is a sort of secret that will lead to any certain result, but I've been kind of on all sides of it. Been stressed or been trying to pack in as many events and things like that. So I think this is a book where hopefully people who have books coming out, you feel confident in what you have to say. And, you're doing all of the things that you could do anyway, organizing your virtual events and setting things up. But there's this real kind of unnecessary stress in double doing that. So you can set everything up and be excited about it, and then simply enjoy your book launch, I think, as it's meant to be for your readers, essentially. So I've just kind of surrendered to that practice of I'm doing everything that I can do and I'm getting it out into the world. I'm not kind of trusting the universe and closing my eyes, but at the same time, there's no need to stress extra for any reason that doesn't lead to any extra result.
Yeah, no, wonderful. Now, moving on to, entrepreneurship and building your brand. I mean, just for our listeners to understand, you started your career in, I believe, in modeling as well. And after teaching yoga in your, New York City apartment, you quickly gained a big audience, which led you to opening Strla Yoga studio, I think back in 2008.
Yeah.
I mean, you're the personal yoga instructor to like Deepak Chopra and ambassador to, and partner with great brands such as Reebok, W Hotels, and been on countless, magazine covers. You've not only, managed to create a global brand in Tara Stiles in yourself, but also a business brand in Strala Yoga. I mean, what's your process there? And do you think, or did you think that you'll be where you are today, and why?
Oh my goodness. Well, it sounds so interesting to hear my own history kind of, spoken out loud in a way, because it just reminds me that, when I was starting to do these things, it was because my friends wouldn't come to yoga and they were stressed out, and I just wanted to help them feel better. And honestly, I still feel that way. Maybe my friends are different friends now. But that kind of energy literally just led to more opportunities. And I always saw success as, well, if I get to keep doing this, I can think of a million ideas and a million different variations and things that I would love to do for partnerships, but it doesn't work unless they want to do it too. Yeah. So I think that, the more I was just sharing yoga in the way that I love to share it, and the more people enjoyed that and felt benefits from that and felt, a positive impact on their life, that led to, having some time where I can then think, oh, what about this and what about that? And, when I met people like Deepak Chopra, he said, hey, do you want to come over and lead me yoga? And I'd say,
hey, yeah, why not?
I said, sure, but you know everything about yoga. What do you need me for? And he said, well, what I know about you is you're not going to lecture me about yoga and the history of yoga, but you're going to take me through something where I can feel better. So I think, I started to have a more recognizable approach. When I would have a conversation with somebody, there'd be something to talk about instead of, hey, can you do something for me where I can get to the next level? It was more, I could help people feel better in that conversation. And if that led to something else, then it was great. And it usually does. So I think that's, for me, a great way to collaborate in work but also just in life.
Yeah. So, I mean, why do you believe Strala Yoga has been so successful? Is it like you were saying, I've been to a couple of, quite a few yoga classes. I haven't tried aerial yoga. That was interesting. So why do you think Strala Yoga has been so successful?
Gosh, well, if I was to take a guess, it's yoga in a way that feels like you. And yoga is so amazing and powerful, but when something's so amazing and powerful, usually we try to be good at it instead of trying to be ourselves in it. And that was the real problem that I saw with yoga when I first started learning yoga. And I think the moment that I realized that this is working was we had a partnership with a gym chain in Paris, and I happened to be in town, and I was leading a class, and they had Strala classes on the schedule there. And it was a busy class, and afterwards a guy came up to me and he said, you're really good at teaching Strala Yoga. Have you been doing it for a while? I really like the regular teacher, but you're the sub, and that's okay. But I'm looking forward to my teacher coming back next week. And I'm like, this is working. So I know it's not necessarily only about, me and my personality. And that's why I never wanted to name it after myself, like other methods that, I would see. It was more just about that figurehead person. I really wanted this to be about something that felt like the individual person that anybody could do and practice and also lead if they chose.
Awesome. Definitely works. Now, as a highly successful entrepreneur, Tara, and wife and mother to Daisy,
you're so nice.
Where do you get the time? I mean, how do you pull everything juggling everything together, family life and business? I mean, is there a method there that you follow or give us some tips, please?
Oh my gosh. Well, for me, it's really how I approach yoga is how I approach everything. I think it would be too stressful to be, a split personality, and so much that I've learned of Tai Chi and Shiatsu and yoga also is this not double doing. And in Tai Chi, it's called Wu Wei. And I think it's the coolest phrase that we don't have in the West. And the easiest translation for myself that I always remember is use what you need, rest what you don't. And as people in modern life, we're always kind of showing our stress and we're doing so much. And we're also stressed out about the fact that we're doing so much. And once you realize that doesn't help you get more, it actually just helps you break down, then I just feel pretty ridiculous. So for me, it's just a mental practice, but also physical practice to use only the energy that I need to do whatever the thing that I'm doing. And then when it's over, it's done. And then I do the next thing. And that's just helped me so much and be able to do a lot, I guess, be more productive and also feel better in the process.
Amazing. So how important is it to, I guess, set time for yourself to reconnect? I mean, is there like a 10-minute practice or routine that people can do?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I think it's like that self-care, almost luxurious time is essential for me. And it doesn't have to be, something where I close the door and I'm on my own and no one can come in, but it's literally just crawling on down to the ground, taking a few big deep breaths, and then simply moving through your yoga practice or through any kind of physical practice that you like to do, but in a way that feels good for you, where you're hanging out in a place that feels a little stiff or stuck, and then take a few breaths and then over to the other side. And I think if your practice translates not just to yoga, but to any other physical movement that you're doing, then it's a good practice. I mean, I wouldn't want to behave one way in yoga, and then if I went, hiking or on a run, I have a totally different approach. So I think that's a great way to help people just get down on the ground, take a few breaths, and notice that you can do that, whether you're with your family or whether you're cooking or at work or doing some other form of sports or things like that.
Awesome. Now I must also quickly add for our listeners out there, Tara also has Strala Home, for online yoga, Tai Chi, Qigong and Shiatsu. So I recommend that you guys check it out. Now I want to touch briefly on spirituality, Tara. Now a lot of people think it's, woo-woo, and that's totally fine. What are your thoughts on it in helping and leading to, in success in business and life?
Oh gosh. Well, I think, the sort of basic form of spirituality that we can all agree on is being kind, being good to yourself and good to others. And, when I think about my own practice and how I can share, that's really always the intention and always the goal. If you feel better, you do better. And I like to think of a practice as kind of software for your body. And you can read texts of whatever spiritual or religion or anything, but if you're not good to yourself and if you're not kind of picking your head up and looking around you and being good in the world, then it's really, not very actionable. So I think that's just the basicness of it. And it really does work. The more you are open to other people and feeling good in yourself, the more people want to talk to you. And if you have something to talk about, the more you can create success or business or, manifest. Doesn't seem like this, magical secret that certain people have. If you just feel good and talk to other people about your interests and your passion, then, collectively people want to be around that. And it shouldn't be a mystery, I don't think.
Fantastic. Now you talked about kindness briefly just now. What can we do? I mean, everyone do to stir up more kindness? Especially in those times.
Oh gosh. Yeah. I mean, I think it's impossible to be kind to somebody else unless you feel good yourself. So, in those moments in the day when you notice more rigidity, more tension, more stress creeping in, I know for me, it's sitting down or getting down to the ground and softening my whole self, rolling around a little bit in a kind of Tai Chi way, but, not really a recognizable form. And taking a few big breaths until I feel better, almost like giving myself that moment. And then, okay, let's go back into it. And then I notice that I'm not going to, move out of alignment with myself now.
Yeah. Awesome. Now, Tara, if you could go back, to talk to your, say, 18-year-old self or a little bit younger, what would you tell her?
Oh my gosh, slow down, I guess. I was always, but I think that's a lot of just going through life. I was always kind of, filling everything as much as possible. But I also loved connecting with people in all these ways. But I think, there's no hurry to that as well. And there's plenty of connection to do your whole life and to also trust yourself. I went through, I think as most people do, a lot of kind of trying to find your own way and reinvent your identity and things like that. So I think, for me, just stay with yourself. The more you feel good about yourself, the more other people will feel good about you as well.
Yeah, that's powerful stuff. Which sort of leads me to my, next question, Tara. A lot of people have success, but then they also have a feeling of, not enough. A feeling of there's something more that will bring them, whether it be accomplishments, happiness, or fulfillment. What are your views on that and the saying of, you never have enough until you define how much is enough? Is there enough?
Oh, gosh. Yeah, I think about this all the time. I used to teach a lot of yoga to, hedge fund people and bankers and things like that, where they would have their number. And then they'd get their number and then they'd still do the thing and they were never happy along the way until maybe some life crisis happens, But I think it's really important, whatever your goals are to check in with how you feel every step along the way. And I know that's always kind of guided the work that I've done with Strala is assessing sort of, momentarily all the time does this feel right to me? Does this feel good to me? Is this making me, feel good about myself and helping other people? And then I'm happy whether it happens or not. And it usually takes me into, bigger, success, how other people would see. But in a way, I feel good in that process. And, it's the kind of thing where I can talk to the janitor or talk to the star of the event when I go into the room. And, if you're happy with yourself, then you've had a successful experience there.
No, awesome. Now, through your practice, I guess, Tara, do you have any suggestions of how maybe people can break bad habits, playing new ones, and more importantly, I guess, maintain them?
Yeah, well, Tai Chi, even more than yoga, is so good for this because the movements are so simple and you have to be aware of what's going on. I think that's why having a teacher is nice, but also, if you just simply walk around your room and maybe even film yourself with the camera, look in the mirror, and if you have your shoulders up here or your back is arched, so much about how you are in your body is how you are in your life, not necessarily the things that happen. But
that's interesting.
I love that about movement, how you can kind of self-diagnose yourself. And if you're, always an overactive person and you might be leaning forward all the time. And if you're leaning forward all the time, you're using more energy than you need, and you're probably making people feel uncomfortable or being a little pushy.
Yeah, right, close up.
So there's that. Yeah. And then if you kind of feel bad about yourself, you're coming in, or if you're rigid or tense, and you can kind of self-diagnose in a way. It doesn't need to be too strange, but it can be pretty easy to go from the physical, what's going on with how I move simply through space, and then what's happening in my life too.
Oh, interesting, that one. Now, turning points or point, when you look back at your entire life, Tara, everything that you've achieved, everything you have to date, is there one thing that changed everything for you, or would you say it's more of a collection of moments for you?
Oh gosh, I think both. One definite moment that sort of created a lot of other moments to happen was a woman who was a bureau chief at the New York Times came into our studio in New York, and she said, "I love what you're doing. I'm going to write a tiny little column in the back of the paper." And then she kept coming back for 2 weeks, and I had just met Deepak Chopra and was just doing some project with Jane Fonda. And she asked for their phone numbers, and she called my mom, and I was like, "This is not a single article." I was like, "What is going on?" I was starting to get really nervous, and this was in 2010, so there weren't like puff pieces about people in the New York Times, and I thought, okay, this is going to be, either really bad or just kind of bad about what I'm doing, and so she called me the night before, and she said, "I really, really love what you're doing. I love what you're bringing to yoga. I can see that it's helping a lot of people. And I know you're at the beginning of something really big in your life. And, I'm going to talk in the first part of the article about people who are, being a little bit critical of what you're doing. But then the rest of the article, it's hard to get anybody to say, much negative about you." And it was a cover story in the Metro section, like 5 pages. And that opened up a lot of other people just wanting to talk to me. And then from there, I was able to make more friends.
Wow. That's an amazing story. Love it. Now, you sort of also touched on this briefly just now about success. Everyone has their own definition of success. What does success mean to you, and how do you define it in both life and business?
Well, I think I always think about that a lot because it might change for me, but I know if I feel good in what I'm doing and I'm able to share that clearly, and then it's all wonderful. If I can share that, with one person to help them feel good, great. If I can share that with many people, great. If it's easy to get somebody to call me back, that's even better. Those kind of things become extra and wonderful and nice. But I think the basics of it is, am I feeling good? Am I kind of worried all the time about my work and what I'm doing, or am I pretty happy and pretty fulfilled in my abilities and how I feel that's going out in the world?
Excellent. So, I mean, with what's happening around the world at the moment in these very, very interesting times, what is your advice or message, for our listeners and viewers be? I mean, we have an audience from over 90 countries, and some places are starting to open up, some still in lockdown, some going back to lockdown, and in general, people are still at home. What would you say would be the most important thing people can do right now so, they can come out a better person at the other end?
Oh gosh. I mean, again, something that I've been thinking about a lot myself and with our family. And one thing that came to mind for us was simplifying and, really doing the things that we actually want to do all the time, and, not doing things that we think we want to do, but we're really kind of just pretending to ourselves. And we found a lot of examples in our life where we could spend more time together and streamline how we spend time together, and, spend less time distracted and more time, quality time, and just, a general attitude of gratefulness, a lot more just to be alive and be healthy and, be able to do the work that we get to do. And we love that. And just that general practice of slowing down and simplifying sort of how we spend our time. So less kind of manic and more grounded.
Nah, slow down. That's a good one. I love it. Love it. So what makes you feel inspired and like your best self, Tara? I mean, how can you be the best that you can be?
Oh gosh. I mean, I feel like it's, for me, a collection of the simple choices I make all day long. So taking time for myself to crawl down to the ground and practice every day so I feel good, so I can, be good to my family and whoever I get to interact with during the day. And, always coming back to that simple practice, whether I'm, cooking or working or doing anything, checking myself that I'm easy and soft so I can, wu-wei my way through and feel good about what I'm putting out into the world, and also feel good in my body and feel good in my whole self.
Wow. Awesome. So what's exciting for Tara Stiles at the moment? I mean, what are you doing to position yourself?
Oh my gosh. Well, I feel like I was just talking to Mike the other day that, I feel like I could relive this one day over and over like 1,000 days now. And we've all kind of felt like that in the beginning of quarantine. But I feel like now, we have our life kind of set up where we have, streaming yoga classes regularly. And then we spend time in nature. We go to the farmer's market. We hang out as a family. We read books. We have time kind of carved in the day for everyone to do their special things. And then we sleep and we kind of wake up and do it all again. So I'm pretty grateful for this time. And, when we do open up and go back and do events and things like that, I still want to keep this feeling of, that beautiful Groundhog Day in this way of enjoying that kind of, I feel like every day I get a chance to perfect it a little bit more,
I love that movie, Groundhog Day.
I know. So comforting.
Yep. So, what is your legacy? I mean, what do you want to be remembered for?
Oh my gosh, that's amazing. I hope people, if they remember me, that I helped them feel good about themselves and maybe reminded them to soften and move in a way that felt good to them while they were learning, practices and wisdom and doing the things in their life and doing the things in their family and business, that they didn't lose themselves in that process.
Awesome. Now, these next two, I guess you call it questions, Tara, I asked to all my guests, and it's just very interesting, what comes back. If you could have a billboard, with anything on it, if people still use billboards, what would it be and why?
Oh my gosh. Maybe just the word soften. And then maybe in tiny words, like maybe before the Big Bang, maybe there was an even bigger softening, maybe just to get people thinking about, I don't need to be so, especially driving, maybe so tight and rigid. I can be in myself and be more centered and aware. And, I feel like I read something that the Dalai Lama said, this word relax, all the Westerners use to try to, yell at people to relax.
It's like, you relax.
You relax, so I love this kind of, command to soften. It's like, I've never, it's less spoken. No one really says to soften. It sounds like something you do to butter before you, something. So I don't know, that kind of, action that we need to do before we can relax. We can't just relax. We need something to help us relax. So maybe soften, put it on a billboard.
Cool. Now, what superpower do you wish you had and why?
Oh my gosh, this is amazing. Good question. Oh, wow. Gosh, I wish I could, I wish I could, like the old Coca-Cola commercial, hold everybody's hand around the world and kind of feel everybody together. So I think there might be something neat in feeling how each other feel in a way. I think that might be pretty cool.
That's a good one. That's the first time I've had it. So that's awesome.
I don't really like flying, so.
No, I've had that one a lot. So now, talking about flying, Tara, with cabin fever building around the world, where will your next, I guess, holiday destination be? I mean, you used to travel heaps before, this whole thing hit. So where will your next destination be?
Oh, well, realistically, we have planned to go to Utah in March for a retreat at Sundance, and then back to Europe in the summer for Berlin and France and Zermatt. So we have so many friends in Europe. So I kind of, really miss all the sort of day-to-day simple things of life there. So probably head over to Berlin and France and just shuffle around a bit.
That's awesome. So totally fantastic shares and great insights. Unfortunately, we have to work towards wrapping up and super mindful of your time. Really appreciate your transparency and willingness to openly share. And, I really look forward to meeting you one day in person, Tara.
That'd be great.
Yeah, awesome. Now, I've just got two last questions. First is, where can people find out more about yourself and Strala Yoga? Yeah,
so for me, just tarastiles.com, and that's just a really simple site about the book and all the books that I've had. And stralayoga.com is more of the community and trainings we offer and classes, online classes and videos and things like that, and resources and blogs about Tai Chi and Shiatsu and yoga and how it all kind of goes together. So that's the destination for all of the practices.
Cool. I'll definitely put some links in the show notes below. And secondly, what parting words of wisdom would you like to impart, for our listeners and viewers?
Oh my goodness. Wow. Just that you deserve to feel better. I think that's something that, so many people that I've had the pleasure of meeting over the years that come to a yoga training and really want to actively participate have that block of, it's okay for me to actually feel better. So maybe that's something that some people need to hear, that you deserve to feel better.
I love that one too. You deserve to feel better. Yes, we do. Now, totally incredible insights, learnings and knowledge. Thanks again, Tara. Really appreciate your time. So stay well, be well, and take care.
You too. Thanks so much for this chat.
You're welcome. Now, all right, I hope you've enjoyed this interview. You can find me at TurnX and also at social media at I'm.TacLee. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you in the next episode. If you're enjoying this podcast, please do make sure you subscribe and take a minute to leave us a review. Thank you.